Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, your boy Virtus here, and welcome back to the Adobe Photoshop design series. In today's video we are going to be going over some basic paint tools inside of Photoshop, allowing us to make really cool drawings. So if you take a quick look at the image in my scene at the moment, this is actually a drawing that someone has made inside of Photoshop, and they've used the paint tool to go ahead and make that, along with a couple of textures and loads of other crazy things. Now, I'm not going to be showing you how to go into as much detail as this, but I am going to be showing you how to use the basics of the tools that they use to make this. So if you guys are artists, you will probably be able to do a lot better than I can. So for now, I'm just going to be going over how to use the paint tool, how to go over things like hardness and so on to get the effect that you're after. So putting this image aside, I'm going to go ahead and open up a new document. Just go to File, New, and I'm just going to give this a standard resolution now of something like 1920 by 1080. Once I've done that, I can then go and proceed to draw on this if I wanted to. But before I do go ahead and draw on this, what I do like to do is always have each piece of like a drawing on a separate layer so that we can get to it later on, or if we have made any mistakes we can just get rid of a layer, put a new one in, and so on. So let me try and explain that and break it down a little bit better for you. So if I go ahead and select my brush tool over on the left over here, I can then just go and brush on this, but it's all going to be part of the background layer. What you might want to do, press Ctrl-Alt-Z to get rid of that, is create a new layer by going up to Layer, New Layer, and then just press OK. On here you can then proceed to go and draw on this layer, and then if you create another layer just by pressing Control Shift and N, or going up to New Layer again, create a second layer. You can just have lots of different layers with different images on there. So you can see if I go ahead and toggle the visibility, you can see I've got my different layers of painting, which is great. But all of that aside, let's go ahead and show you how to do some painting. Like I said before, go over to the paint tool. You've got a couple of different options. We're just going to be using the brush tool today as it's quite simple and most of the time it can do exactly what you're after. So click the brush tool, and then directly from here you can proceed to go and draw on your canvas by just clicking and dragging and drawing whatever it is that you want to draw. If you want to get rid of that, if you've made a mistake, just press Ctrl, Alt and Z if you're on Windows, and that will take you back. So you are just drawing on here, and you can see my brush is quite big at the moment. You might have a smaller brush or a bigger brush. You know, sometimes it's not always right, and it's not always going to be what you need. So what you could do is you could go over to the brush settings in the top left hand corner, and you could change a few things around. First things first, after you press this little arrow here, you can change the size. This is probably the most important thing. So if you change this up or down, it's going to give you a bigger brush. So let's say I set this brush to something like 400 pixels. You can now see I've got quite a big brush, and you can do things with that. For me, that's just a little bit too big, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to my brush settings, and I'm just going to pull this all the way down to something maybe a little bit smaller, like 29, and then from there I can draw on it, and it's almost the same as having a pencil or a pen or something like that. So there's another setting just beneath that I want to go over, and that is hardness. Hardness is essentially how much, let's just say it was a pencil or a pen, is pretty much just how much pressure you're putting on there. So if you put the hardness all the way up to 100, it's going to be completely filled and it's going to be completely black. Whereas when I have that down to 0, you can see there's a little bit of fall off and it looks a little bit smoother. Now, if you're working with, like a painting, you might want to have a lower hardness, or if you're working on something that's like solid, you might want to have a higher hardness. Just play around with it to make and get the look that you're after, and once again, you can always just sort of go in between there, so it doesn't have to be completely smooth and it doesn't have to be completely solid either. If you wanted to, you could go and set it to something like 75 and you get like a mix of both of those. So, let's go ahead and create a new layer. Press OK, and there's one other thing that I want to show you now. So what I wanted to do was show you how to change the color of your brush, because it's no good just drawing in black all of the time, and there's a couple of different ways we can do it. So first things first, you've got your foreground color, and that is going to be the one that you're going to be painting, and that is over in the top right hand corner in the color panel. If I just go ahead and move my camera down for a second and go into my color panel, I can manually select a color from here, And then with that, I can proceed to go and draw with that color. It's really as simple as that. So I can choose a green and then just navigate it on here. So you've got your hue chart on the right there, and then from there you can just choose like a lighter version of that color or a darker color. Just get the look and the feel that you're after. So you can see I've got this little blue now, and I can continue to just draw that onto the scene just like that. So that's pretty cool. But sometimes in an instance you want to get the same color as you have done before. It's going to be a little bit hard to select the exact color. So if I go and draw another blue on here, and then try get back to the other blue that I had before, it's just not the same. So what you could do is you could actually use the eyedropper tool to select that color. So on your navigation panel over here, just on the left hand side, select your eyedropper tool, click a color, and it will take you to that color, and from there you can go back into your brush and you can start drawing on that color again, and that looks really, really great. So let's say you just want to tidy something up, you might want to use the eyedropper tool to just select that color. So there is one other thing that I did want to show you before I do go any further, and that is pretty much how to use the crosshair, how to have like a little crosshair when you're making bigger brushes. So let's say your brush size is all the way up to something like 200, you can't really tell where the center of that brush is, and there's actually a setting to give you like a little crosshair right in the middle of that brush to help you out and just give you the ability to be a little bit more accurate. So if you go to edit and then go to preferences, and then if you go down to cursors, you'll have a little pop-up window somewhere, come up here, and then if you see there's a little icon here that says show crosshair in brush tip. What this is going to do is it's going to give you this little X here inside of your brush so you can be a little bit more accurate. If you press OK, you can now see you've got that little crosshair in the center of our brush there, and it is looking quite nice. Now, one thing I do want to say just before I end off this video is there is a whole bunch of different paint tools that you can play around with. For example, you've got the gradient tool, we've got the paint bucket tool, we can even go as far as using like clone stamp and a bunch of other stuff. We're going to be going over that in a little bit more detail later on the series, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Anyway guys, that is everything for this video. Once again, thanks for watching, stay awesome, keep creating, your boy Virtus, signing out.